Nobody expected Trump to show up in camouflage, and nobody expected a liberal news anchor like Emma Monroe to accept an invitation to go hunting with the most controversial president in modern history, let alone alongside Kid Rock and the son of a country music legend. But what started as a bizarre PR stunt in the middle of Montana turned into something far more unsettling and strangely beautiful. Because out there, miles from cell towers and cameras, four people from opposite sides of America sat around a campfire and talked. Really talked. No spin, no applause, just bare truths that were never meant to be spoken. And it all started with a dead coyote tangled in barbed wire. Emma Monroe wasn't the kind of person who said yes to things like this. Her weekends were built around coffee shops and studio prep, not outdoor gear and gun oil. She wore blazers, not flannel. Her reputation had been built on dismantling public figures like Trump on live television with wit, precision, and that razor-sharp tone she'd perfected over a decade. So when her producer forwarded her the invitation, she laughed. "A hunting trip?" she asked, holding the email up like it was radioactive. "With Trump and Kid Rock?" "He specifically asked for you," her producer said. "Well, technically Kid Rock did, but Trump signed off." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Did he confuse me with someone else?" "No," her producer replied. "He said, and I quote, 'She talks trash, but at least she thinks.'" That line stuck with her, and that night, while sipping wine and scrolling through news alerts about polarization, school board protests, and endless screaming matches online, something shifted. She didn't agree with them. She didn't trust them. But for the first time in a long time, she was curious. 3 days later, Emma stepped off a private plane onto the frosted dirt of a Montana airstrip. The cold air felt different, not just in temperature, but in weight, like the kind of silence that made people honest. The lodge sat nestled between rows of towering pines, each creaking softly in the wind. It was rustic but solid, built for storms, the kind of place that had seen snow, whiskey, and more than a few arguments that never made it online. An old American flag hung from the porch, sun-bleached and tattered, but still flying. She was the first to arrive. Charlie Daniels Jr. showed up next. He barely said a word, just tipped his cap and nodded. Then came Kid Rock, blaring into the gravel drive with a laugh and a pack of beer in hand. "Glad you showed, Monroe," he said. "Wasn't sure you had it in you." "I wasn't sure either," she replied, adjusting her coat. "But I figured if I'm going to be insulted, I might as well get a good view while it's happening." They both smirked. Trump arrived last. Black SUV, red hat, familiar grin. He stepped out, scanned the porch, and locked eyes with Emma. "Well, well, didn't think the media had the guts to show up off camera." Emma didn't flinch. "Didn't think you'd leave Mar-a-Lago." He laughed, the sound bouncing off the trees. That night, dinner was venison stew served in iron bowls, and the drinks flowed faster than the small talk. The fireplace crackled as shadows danced across the wooden walls. They talked music, old scandals, the absurdity of celebrity. Trump made a joke about CNN's ratings. Emma fired back with a line about Trump's spelling. Kid Rock howled. Even Charlie smiled. But eventually, as always, the conversation shifted. Politics crept in like a draft under the door. Trump leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes locked on Emma. "Do you actually believe the media's been honest with people?" he asked. Emma set down her fork. "Do you actually believe you have?" The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was honest. "I believe people deserve to hear all sides," Trump said. "No," Emma countered. "You believe people should hear your side. Louder, faster, over everyone else's." "And you don't?" he asked. She paused. "I think everyone's shouting right now, and it's drowning out the truth." Charlie spoke then, his voice low. "Shouting feels powerful when no one's listening." The next morning, the hunt began. Snow had fallen lightly overnight, frosting the trees in white. Kid Rock and Charlie prepped rifles. Trump pulled on a camo jacket and joked about how it looked better than anything from his fashion line. Emma didn't plan to go, but something pulled her out of bed. She borrowed a pair of boots that were 2 sizes too big and followed the trail left by their footsteps. What she found wasn't deer. It was a coyote, tangled in rusted barbed wire near a fence post. Its leg had been twisted, torn, Its eyes were wide, frantic. It was breathing fast, chest heaving in short, ragged bursts. It was alive, but barely. The others arrived moments later. Charlie walked up slowly, like he'd seen this 100 times. He didn't speak, just knelt, pulled his knife, and ended its suffering. No one said a word for a full minute. Trump broke the silence. "That's where we are," he said. "Snarling, bleeding, ripping ourselves apart because no one's willing to end the pain." Emma stared at the lifeless body. No one wants to admit they're caught. Back at the lodge, Emma found an old journal wedged between two books in the library. Faded handwriting. Notes from a man who'd once owned the cabin, a Vietnam veteran who'd built the place as a retreat from the noise of the world. She read a line out loud over lunch. "The loudest person in the room is usually the one who feels smallest." No one laughed. That night the fire was warmer than the air, but the conversation was colder. Emma sat across from Trump again. "Would you run again?" she asked. He looked at her for a long time. "If I thought no one else could do it right? Yeah, I would. But even if it breaks this place apart?" He didn't blink. "Maybe it's already broken." Emma didn't respond. Charlie leaned forward. "You fix broken things by seeing what caused the cracks, not by pretending they weren't there." Later, she found herself outside, sitting alone on the porch. The wind had quieted. The stars above looked almost fake, like someone had painted them. Trump joined her without a word. They sat in silence. She finally broke it. "Why me?" He looked out at the trees. "Because you're one of the few who still knows the difference between criticism and hate." "That's generous." "It's true." She turned to him. "You don't want applause, you want legacy." "I want both," he said, "but I'd settle for being understood." Charlie came out with an old radio and placed it on the table. It crackled before landing on an old song, one of his father's. The melody played soft and true. No one spoke. Kid Rock came out last, guitar in hand, and started strumming without being asked. The song changed, slower, sadder, something raw. Emma closed her eyes. It didn't feel like compromise. It felt like something older, something simpler, a kind of peace, not from agreement, but from trying. The next morning, Trump approached her before they left. "You'll talk about this on your show," he said. "Probably say I'm still the same old me." Emma shrugged. "I don't know what I'll say yet." "That's okay," he replied. "Just don't lie." She smiled barely. "That's your line." Back in her apartment, her studio lights felt harsher than usual. Her inbox was overflowing with questions, demands, assumptions. But before answering any of them, she opened her notebook and wrote, "You don't have to agree with someone to see their fear. You just have to listen long enough to hear it." She closed the book, turned off her phone, and stared out the window. Some moments don't belong on TV. Some truths are quieter than applause. And sometimes the people you think are your enemies are just people who haven't been in the same room with you yet. She didn't sleep that night. Emma sat by the small window of her room in the lodge, legs tucked under her, staring out into the dark. The moonlight spilled across the snow like milk poured too quickly. The trees swayed just slightly in the wind, like old men whispering to each other. Her phone was off. There was no Wi-Fi anyway, but even if there had been, she wouldn't have used it. She needed the silence, because something had shifted in her, not in the way that would make her change teams or rewrite her beliefs, but in the way that made her realize how little of the world she actually saw when she only looked through her own lens. She kept hearing Kid Rock's voice in her head, the way he'd said, "Nobody wants to talk anymore. They just want to post something sharp and watch the hearts roll in." It wasn't profound, but it was true. The next morning, before anyone else was up, Emma wandered outside and found Charlie Daniels Jr. already sitting near the edge of the woods. He was whittling a piece of wood down with a knife that looked older than she was. "You always up this early?" she asked. "Out here, yeah," he said. "Mornings are honest." She sat down beside him on a fallen log. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then she asked something that had been bothering her since she arrived. "Why'd you agree to come?" He didn't answer right away, just shaved another slice off the wood. "Because someone has to be the still one," he finally said. "Everyone else moves so fast, talks so loud, spins so hard. Somebody's got to be still. Otherwise, nothing lands." Emma looked at him. You think anything actually changed this weekend? He shrugged. Don't need to change the world. Just need to change the moment. That's how change starts. She smiled a little. It was the kind of wisdom you don't get from professors or pundits. It was slow wisdom, heavy, real. Back inside, Trump was in the kitchen pouring black coffee into a dented mug. No staff, no handlers, no cameras. Just a man in a bathrobe staring at a mountain range, trying not to look like he was having a feeling. When he saw Emma, he lifted the mug. Didn't scare you off, I guess. I've been insulted by better men, she deadpanned. He smirked, then looked out the window again. You know what I miss? He said quietly. Back when you could argue politics and still get a drink together after. Back when being wrong didn't mean you were evil. Emma joined him by the window. You helped break that, you know. He nodded. I know. Doesn't mean I don't want to fix it. She looked over, skeptical. Then why keep pouring gas? Because fire clears brush, he said. Makes room for something new. She didn't respond, because part of her hated how poetic that sounded. After breakfast, they all packed up. The tension was gone now, replaced by something less visible. Not quite peace, but not war either. Before they left, Kid Rock insisted on one last group sit on the porch. No agenda, no debate, just four Americans staring into the wind, drinking the last of the bourbon. Charlie spoke without looking at anyone. Back in the day, my dad used to say, people don't hate each other. They hate the masks. Trump nodded slowly. Hard to tell where the mask ends now. Emma added, some people forget they're even wearing one. They all stared ahead for a long time. Finally, it was time to go. Bags thrown into trunks, engines warming, the snow beginning to fall again. Emma was the last to step into her car. Trump approached her, not with swagger this time, but something closer to sincerity. You'll be tough on me, he said. I get it. I'll be honest, she replied. That's harder. He offered his hand. She took it. A firm shake. No cameras. No press release. As the car pulled away, Emma looked back at the porch. Kid Rock gave a lazy salute. Charlie just nodded. And Trump? He stood with his arms crossed, watching the snow fall. Back in her apartment that evening, everything felt too bright, too loud. Her phone buzzed like a wasp in a jar. Texts, emails, missed calls. Her inbox was already filling with pre-written jokes for her next monologue. Producers asking for sound bites. Editors asking for quotes. But Emma sat in silence for a long time. She opened her notebook and wrote, "We scream so much we forget how to speak." She wrote another line. "The man I argued with isn't my friend, but he's not a cartoon either. And maybe the scariest part is realizing that makes things harder, not easier." She thought of the coyote. She thought of Charlie, still and steady. She thought of Kid Rock, the clown with scars behind the grin, and Trump, staring into the fire like it was telling him secrets he didn't want to hear. Then she closed the notebook and turned off her phone. Because not everything needs to be said right away, and not every truth needs to be tweeted. Some of them just need to be carried, for a little while, quietly.